Perfect. Well, if you're looking for the 10 ideas for making self-service a killer app, you are in the right spot with a few of your friends, I think. So, perfect. This afternoon, we are welcomed by the presence of Paul Cowan. He is the educational technology expert and IT manager for the University of Waikato, which is in New Zealand, if you don't know. He also works directly for the Faculty of Education. Some other interests of Paul's, they might relate to you: podcasting, ebook creation, and creating collaborative learning spaces. I'm going to step off and give Paul the stage here, but just as a reminder, we're going to take Q&A through Twitter. The hashtag is JNUC 2016 app. JNUC 2016 app. Here's Paul.
Great, thanks. Kia ora, everybody. Wow, there's plenty of you. Thanks for skipping on patch management and coming here. I will try and be interesting, but to be honest, it's not so much 10 great things as 6 pretty good things and 4 I threw in. So, but we'll do our best. Okay. So yeah, I am the IT manager, or one of them, at the University of Waikato, which is a small university in the North Island of New Zealand. And I'm going to talk a bit about self-service today. And I should have spelled this out, I'm going to focus exclusively on self-service on the Mac, not on iOS, because it's just more interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit about my institution, where we came from. I'm going to talk, and I apologize for all these bullet points, but this is going to be a reasonably technical conversation, so the more words I put up, the more you can take photos and remember stuff. We're going to talk about self-service. I love iBeacons, even though it doesn't directly pertain to self-service, and I want to talk about that because I want to keep the conversation going around Casper and, Pro and iBeacons. And then we're going to do a little bit of a live demo, which may go horribly wrong, but I recorded it, haha, so we can always fall back on that. So, the University of Waikato, we moved into Casper in 2013 because we have a large split of, we're about 60-40 Mac PC. So we support both shops, but we have a lot of Macs and a lot of Mac management problems. So we've been using Macs for a long time. We now have 9 people in my team certified in using Casper. I don't know how many of you remember the days when everything had to be done by hand to set up a Mac, and it all seemed beautiful and magical back then, but did anyone else ever use AD augments? Active Directory augments? Was I there we go. Yeah, you get a chocolate fish. Which it's a real thing, and I'm serious. I bought some. It's the most New Zealand thing in the world, so I thought I'd better bring some along. Yeah, so we've got a big history managing Macs using all kinds of wonderful and terrible technologies, all of which we've now abandoned because we don't need them anymore, except for Active Directory, to my everlasting horror. We're now exclusively doing everything in Casper. Yeah, Pro, damn it. So we've got 800 staff and 10,000 students. And we run a BYOD environment for our students. So we have a whole collection of weird stuff coming on campus, from Chromebooks to Dad's old BlackBerry to who knows what. And all have to be managed and got onto the Wi-Fi and successfully getting student content. We found that we were having real problems getting each iteration of a Mac configured for staff members, simply because there was so many. It used to be one staff member represented one device. You know, there was the desktop machine on their desk, or they had a laptop. Now they've got a laptop and a desktop machine and a tablet and an iPhone and their home machine and a bunch of printers. It's so one person is not one device anymore. That's turned into a horrible tree. We found that we were not rolling software out. We weren't rolling software updates out fast enough. And unlike IBM, we do not allow administrator access because my academics, although they're wonderful people, are not technically astute, and they will fall for every single phishing scam out there. So I'd rather I limited the damage to their profile, not the whole computer. So we do not provide administrator access. We needed a way around that. So our solution was self-service in Casper. And we now use it for the first and last port of call for everything. Our operating system upgrades are all done through Casper. Our deployments are done through Casper. Installation of all software is done through Casper. No more Apple remote desktop deploys, no more monolithic imaging. We just push it out as Casper policies or through self-service. This way we get a wonderful log of everything that happens. We get our license information taken care of. We get our asset database automatically updated. We've created a number of user extension attributes that automatically populate our database. And everyone is satisfied with it. Now, this is a better solution. Our customer satisfaction metrics go up every year now, whereas previously they weren't. So I want to talk a bit about what self-service can do beyond just installing software or packaging up printers. So we're all doing that, right? We all use it to roll out software. We're all adding up, exposing printers and printing options to staff. We execute policies through it and create our own little scripts and do software updates. However, self-service is a binary that can execute other functionality with escalated permissions. That's extraordinarily useful. It also allows you to recognize beacon-based policies. Once self-service has been deployed onto a Mac, then you can use iBeacons. Wonderful stuff, all supported by Pro. You can connect to file shares and storage repositories and cloud-based storage very easily. And you can get to the Jamf binary via the self-service options. So you can use all that extra lovely functionality in the Jamf binary by creating little buttons in self-service that get you there. So there are a number of things you can, you know what, I'm just going to skip this. I'm going to run out of time. We're going to start with number one. Okay. So the first thing is migrating versions of the operating system. Easily done through creating a profile, a policy in self-service. So all of our operating system updates are at the user's, each staff member's discretion. We tell them when it's available. It's prominently displayed in self-service, and they click the button when they've got a couple of hours when they don't need the machine. The entire thing is automated. So there's no point where they need to click a button between the start and the end of the process. So it rebinds the machine to Active Directory, it performs software updates. We get notifications of every time a machine has been updated because we see the group membership change via email. So we know, oh yes, Professor so-and-so has just gone to Sierra. And I might flick him an email later on to make sure he knows that Siri's there now. So here's an example of the policy. It's pretty simple. We install the offline installer onto the machine. We run it with a little script which stops any user interaction. We make sure all our branding is added in as well as packages. So we get all our lovely university crests and background images all automatically populating everyone's profiles. And we add the little portraits and avatars that we want staff members to be using to represent themselves, all through packages. There's more than one way to package an application for Casper. So we've all, I guess, figured out that you can install an application from a package in Casper Admin. What are they going to call that now? Pro Admin? Is this going to be a Casper suite? There is also the ability to install apps via the App Store, which is very useful if you've got license considerations and you're using the App Store for licensing, or you just want to make sure that software updates for a particular platform are taken care of automatically until patch management rolls through. There is also the packaging option that we're all familiar with, and you can create your own custom packages. There's a number of great tools to do that beyond the Casper ones. Finally, there's scripting, where you create a script which goes to a known good repository of the latest version and automatically updates. So you can see this one has an install latest button on it. And I know that when I click that, I'm going to get the latest one from the developer's website by just creating a script that goes and executes that properly. If there's an error with it, I've set it up so that my policy will notify me or my team that something has gone wrong. That usually means that a data source has been moved by the developer and we need to update our script. Now this one's useful. Temporary admin control. Sometimes someone will be traveling, they'll take a laptop away with them, something's gone wrong, or they really need to install an application, or they really, for some Byzantine reason, need to have administrator access to their computer. And I'm not there to give it to them, and they can't get an internet connection. So what I can do is I can get them to load self-service, go in here and click this button. I say 90 seconds, I'm not actually that stingy, it's more like 10 minutes, but I want them to think like it's going to go away in 90 seconds. So they click that button. I provide them with a code. The code is a one-time code, and it changes daily. So I run this little script, which just basically uses the date to generate a random little string of numbers. They're prompted to type this in. Once they've done it, they've got 10 minutes of administrator access. Then they're moved out of the administrator group back into the normal staff group. So that is very, because self-service can access the Discal DSCL binary with root permissions, it can escalate a user into the admin group and then with a timer, move them out again. The script also checks to make sure if they suddenly reboot that on the next login, that they also get moved back out. We do that with the launch engine. Smart groups are wonderful things, and there is a relationship between them and self-service. So I've had a kernel panic, or rather one of my staff members had a kernel panic. Maybe they've had 2 or 3 or 4. And for whatever reason, they're just restarting and not bothering to call me and just swearing under their breath. Now, one of the reasons your machine may kernel panic is your hard drive is in trouble. And that's something I want to know about. You know, maybe the smart status hasn't been triggered, which I would find out via a smart group. But there could be something going on that is important, and we need to do some, you know, some emergency data backup. So we've got an extension attribute that we've set up, which monitors the system logs looking for kernel panics. If that's ever detected, so the next inventory update to Casper, that the logs are uploaded. If that if that extension attribute is triggered, then the smart group is populated with that machine. Once that happens, I get an email saying such and such has been added to this group. Oh, I need to contact them. So I get my email, and because that computer is in the smart group, there are now new functions in self-service. So if someone is traveling and they've got this problem, I can get on the phone to them or send them an email, and I can say, all right, if you load self-service now, you're going to see some new options there. And I need you to, say, click the Perform an Emergency Backup to Google Drive button, which is going to take their important research data and put it into Google Drive. I can do an FSCK and get the logs and figure out exactly if there's a problem with the hard drive. You know, there's a number of different ways you can leverage this functionality. After 24 hours, they're moved out of that smart group if they haven't had another kernel panic, and those options will disappear. So I can create whatever extensions I want, make them, scope them out so that they're only accessible to people in that group, and then get them to run them remotely. The web functionality in self-service is not really used enough, in my opinion. We use it for everything. So the most important tools we have at the university I work in are all web-based. We do everything in the web. We do everything in Chrome. We want people to be going there as their first and last port of call. We're a Google shop. We want people to be able to generate their own application-specific passwords very easily. We've got a bunch of videos explaining how to do things, and we want people to find them in our YouTube channel. Video conferencing, so we use a system called Appearin, which is, I'm hopefully going to live demo. And it's a wonderful tool, but not enough people know about it, so we have this little button here which immediately, if they click it, takes them into a room we monitor so that they can, and we get notified that there's someone waiting in there, and we can do an impromptu video conference with them. No username or password required, no nothing, they just click that button. We've got a blog, FOE Tech Talk, where we talk about things we want people to know about or shout about phishing attacks that are going around. Access your Google Drive, self-explanatory. Oh, I'm repeating myself. Your calendar, it's very important because we populate it with timetable information about which class you're supposed to be teaching in. Gmail, I want people to stop using their mail clients and focus on doing it in the web. So this is how you get to your email. That's how we tell people. Self-service in that button. The phone book is very important to leave the poor receptionists alone, because pretty much before the phone book became a known, it's been around forever, no one knew about it. And of course, every phone call that was ever placed outside the university, or sometimes inside, was a call down to the receptionist who had to place everything there. There's no reason for it. And Fish Finder is a Google app script. It's an automated phishing detection tool. We want people to install it, so we evangelize it through there. Number 6, padlocks in system preferences. So, I mean, there's a number of them. They're in the printers area. You see them all the time in the network area. Some of them I want there. Some of them, I don't know why that functionality is restricted. So we've added to self-service the ability for people to unlock them. The unlock for printers is very simple. It's simply adding people to the admin group for a limited period of time. Internet sharing. So that's a useful functionality if, say, you've got an Ethernet connection in an office or a conference room or a teaching room, and you want to distribute you want to create your own ad hoc Wi-Fi network for whatever reason. Maybe you've got some visitors. And it's very convoluted to know how to turn on internet sharing. You don't necessarily have the know-how to do it or the ability to unlock that padlock on your Mac. You simply go into self-service. You click the turn on internet sharing button. It loads up a launch daemon. And then when you turn it off, it just unloads that launch daemon. The launch daemon links to a script which just enables and disables internet sharing with the appropriate Wi-Fi credentials, and it tells you the password. Connecting to SSH without VPN. Now, this one is pretty cool. So what we've done, and I'll do a little bit of a demo of this hopefully, is we've set up an AWS server in the cloud. And that AWS server acts as a man in the middle between someone who's, say, working in a hotel somewhere and me at the university. So obviously I want to SSH into their machine to do some routine maintenance or fix a problem they've got or install some software. I can do that if I get them to go into self-service and click the connect button to SSH. If they do that, that establishes an SSH connection to our AWS server, which is completely divorced from university infrastructure. So it's just listening on port 80. I connect into that machine as well, and then I do a reverse tunnel between the two, and bingo, I'm SSH into the machine. Now, if that sounded complicated, it was actually quite easy to set up. Everything you need to know is right there. So if you take a photo of that or just review this video later on, it's a really cool function because you can just say to people, hang on, I'm just going to jump onto your machine if you push this button in self-service, and then you can be doing all kinds of wonderful things behind the scenes, really impressing them, without them ever having to load any VPN clients. So this is a good one. This is remote support without VPN. So this is the one I'm going to try and live demo for us. I've recorded it if it doesn't work, but I'm just going to switch over, hopefully, to my own little Mac here. Great, okay. All right, so I'm going to get in character. This is going to be a little bit of performance art as well. I've even got a script. All right. So I need to make a support call. So I'm going to load self-service, and I'm going to go into my appearance system. Okay. Here I am. Hello, Michael.
Good morning.
Michael, it's me, somewhat retired Emeritus Professor Highbrow. And this happened. Well, something very similar. I've got a bit of a problem. My printer scanner has died, and I need to save some pictures in an article from a website, but the text is too small for my phone camera.
Sorry to hear about the printer, Professor. Is it one of our assets?
No, it's my own. I've had it since about 2003. I've been using my phone today instead, but the quality just isn't very good.
Your phone? You're using your phone in a scanner for saving web content?
Just my phone now that the scanner has broken. But the camera isn't very good. I get colored lines in the photos, and it doesn't talk to my printer, so I have to email the pictures to myself.
So you're taking photos of your screen with your camera and emailing them to yourself. How exactly are you using your printer?
I need to cut the pictures out of the page.
I think I see. So when you're taking photos of the screen with your camera and emailing them to yourself, when your scanner was working, you'd print the web page and cut out the article or photo?
Yes, and then I'd scan it so that I have a digital copy. My resource assistant, Sarah, used to do it for me until she retired last year. So she showed me how to do it. But when my scanner died, I came up with the phone idea myself. It's very Web 2.0, yes?
If you did that, all your saved articles would be photos. You wouldn't be able to search or for text or copy and paste any of the content.
Ah, Sarah used to transcribe them for me. I've been doing it myself, but I'm a lot slower, and this article is too small for me to see to type out. Maybe there's a zoom function on the phone I could use before I take the photo.
I think I can show you a better way. I'll remotely connect to your machine. Can you go into self-service for me, please?
Which button is...
The second icon on the dock at the bottom. The white circle should be right to the right of the Finder icon. That will say self-service when you hover over it.
I don't have it. I don't have it.
The dock is the strip of icons at the bottom of your screen.
All right, I found it.
Okay. Do you see the category section on the right-hand side of it, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Oh, I can add printers.
That's right. Just for now, though, can you click on the remote support for me in the category section, please?
Okay, done.
Okay. Now, the third icon in the middle should have our crest next to it, and it should have a connect button. Can you click the connect button for me, please?
I did, but it's broken. An error message has come up.
It's fine. It's just an information box. Can you click the connect button under the crest in that window?
Oh, okay, done. There's a blue line moving along the top of the screen.
Okay, that's good. I'll be on your screen in a moment.
Do.
Just remoting it now. One moment, please.
This is really good when it works.
Yes. And I'm on your screen now.
Yay!
Now.
Look at that mouse pointer moving. No hands.
Okay, now, where is the content you are wanting to save?
Oh, it's in my browser.
Okay, I'll just go
The
there.
tab that you're not in.
Ah, kittens. Hard at work, I see.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, now I'll show you a neat trick with these photos. You should just be able to drag and drop them onto your desktop,
Ah!
like so.
Oh, that's neat. Ah, wonderful. Let me just get my phone so I can take some pictures of you doing this.
I'll send you the notes in an email.
Oh, no good. I can't read email. My printer is broken. And scene. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. See you later. Okay, so that worked. We'll flick back to the other machine. Thanks. Okay, no need for the recording. Ah, so this one is my favorite, number 10. Yeah. So if you've ever been asked by someone, why is my computer so slow? What's it doing? Oh, no, it's no problem. It's a known problem. I can see the issue. Go into self-service and click Optimize My Computer. What does it do? I don't know. Probably something good. But I have never once had it fail. It's because it says restart at the end of it. People do. Everything's great now. So if you implement nothing else, put that one in. Now, as a bit of a diversion from that, I just want to talk a bit about iBeacons, because there have been a couple of announcements around iBeacons that may have escaped your attention. So the first thing is iOS 10 and the Mac now have configuration policies that allow Bluetooth to be locked on. So previously, the big Achilles heel with iBeacons was that, and if you don't know what iBeacons are, they're a Bluetooth signal put out by either a piece of software or a tiny little device that tells an app or an operating system to do a particular thing. And they've got wonderful different codes, and I'll explain them in a bit. But two things have just happened. First, you can lock with a configuration profile on mobile devices and on the Mac Bluetooth to be on, which means you can rely on iBeacons to work now. And second, Apple have just released a new extension to Beacon technology around air printing. So a lot of people miss this at WWDC, but they had a whole session on it. They're called AirPrint Beacons. And essentially, it's just like an Apple TV advertises itself over Bluetooth and you can connect to it. Now you can do it with printers. And it doesn't, the beacon does not have to be on the actual printer. So if you want people in a particular room to be printing to a particular printer, you just set up a beacon in that room and it advertises that printer without bonjour to all the devices in the room, without even any network connection, although you're not really going to print after that. And to a printer which may be geographically across the campus or down the hall. So that's cool. And these are things you can play with in Pro. So I'll talk a little bit about what beacons are, just in case you haven't really heard of them or explored them yet. So beacons are a trigger, a signal to either an app on a Mac or an iPhone to do a particular thing. And you can set them up to load configuration profiles in iOS or unload them, or add machines to smart groups. You can do all kinds of wonderful things with them. You can tell it to disable cameras when you go into a particular room. You can add certificates for a Wi-Fi network when people come in contact with the beacon. You can make sure that documents that have been loaded onto devices are removed from the device when the machine can no longer see the beacon. You can use smart group technology. So if a machine sees a beacon, it adds itself to a smart group. That smart group triggers whatever you want, because at that point you can start executing policies and scripts. One app you might not know is Beacon Aware is Wallet, the Wallet app. Everyone's got one on your iOS device. So what I like to do is I carry a little business card around with me in my wallet that I show to people. Yeah, that's how you contact me. Scan that barcode there. And so they do, and then everyone's got my contact details. It's more efficient, it's more reliable than AirDrop anyway. I've added this little bit of beacon code to it. So it just basically says, if you see this beacon, Paul's in the room somewhere, go buy him, well, I say coffee there, and the other one says whiskey. It works really well, and if you want a demo, I'm happy to demo it for you later. And to get my card onto your device, I'll throw this up again at the end. All you have to do is load the wallet app and use the scan function to scan that. And I will throw that up again. So to set up beacons in your JSS, all you have to do is go into the inventory collection area, tell it to start monitoring iBeacon regions. Very easy. To configure your beacons, you simply go into the iBeacons area and you add each one. I've got a number of different beacons that I've got scattered around my campus. We use them for a lot of stuff. We've just started using them for scavenger hunts. So we hand out iPods to the students when they're on orientation day and they go out and they find the beacon. Oh, we found the right place and solved the clue and run back. And I can monitor them real time by seeing which beacons have been triggered. So I've got, say, a beacon called Meeting Room 12. And I can add all kinds of functionality in my JSS to any machine that sees the beacon in Meeting Room 12. So there's a little video here, which I'm going to skip because I'm running out of time and I want to have some time for question and answers. So I've developed a little app as well called Big Beacon Boss. And it's got 4 functions it's really just to showcase how iBeacons work to the powers that be around the university. But I just carry it on my phone, and every enrolled device in my Casper environment has policies that are triggered by each of the beacons that's triggered by my little app. So I can be, when I first started out with beacons, I created a simple beacon app, and then I rolled out a policy onto people's computers saying, oh, hi, Paul, how's it going? I walked down the corridor transmitting the beacon, and all these enrolled machines all started to, so people are leaning out of their offices, why was my machine talking about Paul? And there he is. But you can extend beyond this. So I've got it set up here. If I trigger a beacon at a machine which is enrolled in my Casper machine, I can tell it to load our password changer. We have a proprietary password changer to get around our Active Directory keychain issues. I don't want people changing their password any other way except through that, so I can click that button and bring it up on the screen. I can launch the terminal with root permissions by triggering a beacon on my phone. Obviously, that's kind of dangerous, so you want to be careful. But if I'm working on someone's machine, if they're locked out of their terminal, I don't want to have to change user context, log in as administrator, blah, blah, blah. I just want to push that button and have the terminal pop up with already logged in as root. I can automatically configure it for Apple Remote Desktop, which means remote management is run. All that does is just run the kickstart binary with the appropriate credentials. So if ARD crashes on someone's machine, then I can just click that button and it starts again. These, of course, are only useful if I'm within 60 meters of the machine. So the way iBeacons work is it's very simple. It's a simple Bluetooth packet. The prefix is Apple specific, saying I am an iBeacon. There is another kind of beacon out there. Google has a project called Eddystone for Android devices, but broadly they're the same thing. The proximity UID is just a unique identifier, and if you're creating your own software beacon, you just type in whatever garbage you like. If you buy a hardware beacon, like the little Estimote stickers or the little wee USB plug ones, they come with their own proprietary ones. There was a company that was here last year actually called Two Canoes. They do amazing stuff with beacons. I'll talk about one of their products in just a second. Then you can divide beacons further with the major and minor code, so you can trigger individual actions from one beacon. Can be putting out multiple signals, triggering multiple policies. So you can even go beyond what the JSS is capable of by using a binary called ProximityD released by Two Canoes. It's completely free. You can configure custom scripts and actions. You can load them onto the machine via your JSS, and that way your machine can do all kinds of wonderful things if it sees a beacon or doesn't. So you can extend past what the Casper suite is currently capable of with beacons by using this ProximityD binary that Two Canoes have developed. If you remember nothing else about iBeacons, remember Two Canoes. Go to their website. It explains everything much better than I can. For instance, if I wanted to install Zoom on someone's machine when they became in range of a trigger of an iBeacon, because the room they've just entered is a video conferencing room. I don't know if you know about Zoom. It's a video conferencing application. I can set up a package which automatically deploys it onto that person's machine as soon as they walk into the room. It's a licensed application, so I can't just roll it out. But this way, if they bring a supported Mac into the room, they get it. When they leave the room, it's removed. And I can see the licenses update in real time in Casper. And you can also trigger beacon policies manually via the Jamf binary just with that simple command. Okay, so that's it. So it's question time, and I brought with me. So I wanted to bring the most New Zealand thing I could possibly find, and it's chocolate fish. Anyone who, if we've got time for questions from the audience, I'll throw you a couple of these. Otherwise, come down, help yourself. They are delicious, despite the name.
That was one of the questions I got, is how do I get chocolate fish?
Yeah,
just so we're clear. So the other second most common question I got, Paul, is are you posting your slides? Some of the stuff that you put up was very, very cool. The scripts, sure. Whatnot. Posting it was another question. So.
Absolutely. Well, it's all recorded, so you can see the slides in the recording. But yeah, if you want a copy of any of this, I'll share whatever code or whatever anyone wants.
Another question I got was, how do you prevent people from creating a local admin account when you grant them that 10-minute session?
You can't. Yes, good. Ignorance. My staff don't know they can do that. But whomever asked that, very astute. That is an Achilles heel. 10 minutes is all you need to work around the fact that the policy only gives you 10 minutes. So yes, if you could do that.
Remember, if you've got questions, hashtag JNUC 2016 app. Another question I got was around what is beacon proximity limits, and is that impacted by density?
So it's not impacted by density because iBeacons aren't terribly chatty, so they're all transmitting not constantly, just every now and then. You can really saturate the area with beacons. Now, there are 3 proximity levels in the iBeacon protocol. The first is near, so that's basically on top of 2 devices, pretty much on top of each other. Then there's mid-range, which is about 10 meters, and then further than that out to the very extent of Bluetooth, which is about, I think they claim 60 meters. In my experience, it's more like 40. That's far. And you can trigger actions at each of the 3 proximity levels. So you can say, this policy only executes when the 2 devices are touching, or as soon as you see a beacon, or you sniff one, start doing this.
Another question got asked, is the iPhone working as the iBeacon transmitter in that
Yes.
app?
Yes.
And does it only activate when the button in the app is actually pressed?
Yes to all of that, yes. You can configure any iOS device to be a beacon as well as be a receiver of beacons. So
Follow up on that. Can you choose the device you want to target with the app? Or?
you could choose it, but you would choose it by making sure that, so the beacons only work on machines that are in a particular smart group in Casper. So I would make sure the machines I wanted it to trigger on were in that smart group. So if I wanted it to work on every machine, I would just use my global smart group as the scoping for my beacon policy. See, the app itself on the phone doesn't contain any functionality beyond sending a particular beacon. Everything else happens in Casper.
Any other questions in the room? I'll repeat them for the recording, but yeah, right here.
So with the app, if a computer is in range and in that smart group, is there a way to direct it to a specific computer within that smart group, or is it going to activate on all the computers?
So real quick, just for the recording, with the app, is it possible to direct that action that you want to take to a specific computer, or is it to all computers?
I guess it would be. I'd have to ponder that a bit. I'm sure we could find a way to do that, yeah. I mean, one way to do it would be the proximity. So you could, you've got to rub your phone on the computer for it to bring up that terminal window.
What else? I saw a hand in the back there. Yeah.
For the remoting in without the person being on VPN,
Yeah. It's the
So-
same.
So real quick, sorry. What is the black magic behind remoting in?
Exactly the same as the remote SSH functionality. It's an AWS server where we're doing a reverse tunnel. So that was just through standard Apple Remote Desktop. And what Michael did was he connected to that AWS server. We've got each one of my staff have a script that they run, which automatically does a reverse connection on the ARD ports to our AWS server. When I click that button in self-service, I also connected to it. That middleman bridges the connection so he can remote control me without VPN.
Paul, a question. Do you get any complaints about location tracking related to iBeacons? And did you need to get approval before you did that?
Well, there's not really any location tracking. No, I haven't. But that could be a lack of imagination or suspicion from the people we support. But there isn't really any location tracking around iBeacons because iBeacons themselves don't receive. They're just transmitters. It's the functionality in the app, when I'm compelling a device to start communicating with my Casper environment, which enables some level of tracking, although we don't use it for tracking. So, but an iBeacon is just a dumb transmitter. It never knows anything has received its signal. Very much like a beacon itself, it's just a light bulb.
Anything else here in the room? Yeah, in the back.
So I want to ask the question about if you could use that 10-minute cycle to get into the admin account and create a secondary one.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that you could actually use Casper to monitor for any additional accounts beyond first that have admin rights and then actually pull the plug.
So the question was, in that 10-minute time period, if the person creates a secondary admin account, can you use Casper to go ahead and locate that secondary admin account? Is that something that you do? What's your process around that?
Actually, you've reminded me that I do have a smart group for multiple admin accounts, and so I suppose I would detect it. Yeah. Yes, that's very clever. Yeah, come have a fish.
Anything else? Yeah.
So,
Do you have a JSS in the DMZ, or do you cache all those packages in self-service?
So the question is, do you have a JSS in the DMZ, or do you cache all those packages? Sorry, Paul.
we cache them. Yeah.
In the back there. Are iBeacons running on Bluetooth?
Yes.
How do you prevent your users from turning off Bluetooth?
You can now prevent users from turning off Bluetooth via a configuration profile.
Are you doing that though?
Yes.
Is that Mac specific or is most devices have it too?
It is iOS as well as Mac.
Do you use the iBeacons as well for BYOD devices which are not necessarily enrolled in Casper? Like you have new students coming on campus orientation week, that might not be necessarily enrolled at that time.
So the question was, do you use iBeacons for BYOD devices or new devices that just got on campus that are not enrolled?
We do, but we do it by creating proprietary apps to support whatever event. Say if it's an orientation day or a scavenger hunt thing, and we want them to be iBeacon aware, we entice people to install a particular app which is beacon aware. So the way that iOS devices see iBeacons that we're transmitting via Casper is the self-service app which gets installed is beacon aware. But you can create your own apps that you can install on the iOS device. So for BYOD devices which aren't enrolled in Casper, you can still have them beacon configurable. Now, there is also the BYOD options in Casper itself, where you can do a self-enroll and as a non-managed device, but that can also include iBeacon functionality.
Anything else? Okay, give Paul one more round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you to Lollies.